Okay, so this is the cybersecurity session of the community workshop of 2021. My name is Christian Silva. I am the IT manager. Thank you everybody for coming. And before I go to the content, I just want to remind you that, let me see if this works. Yes. If you stay until the end of the session and you survive this cybersecurity talk, you will be able to participate in a fantastic cybersecurity trivia. There's going to be limited seats, so make sure to sign up at the end of the session. Going to be 10 questions about the Ruby and cybersecurity content, and if you win, you can choose between a lockpick set for beginners. This is very useful if you forgot the keys of your gate and you're stuck in your house. You can always use this lockpick to escape your house. Or if you want, we can make a donation to a charity of your choice for an amount equivalent to the cost of the lockpicking set. All right. Okay, so I think one of the first times that I heard about the hacker term was in the movie War Games, right? This is a movie from 1983. This is probably one of the first time that the Hollywood showed to everybody the term hacker. And it was about this kid, this very bright kid with computer skills. And he just wanted to have some fun, right? He just wanted to play some games. So he was always on the look for new games, in different computers. I'm not going to spoil the movie for you. You haven't seen it, but he went to the wrong server once and got involved into a thermonuclear war, thinking there was a game, right? But the context of this movie is that this term of hackers is not very known for the public eye. So I think this is probably one of the first time that everybody was aware that this kind of characters existed, right? There were other movies about hackers in the past that were not specifically about this. Maybe Tron is another one. In the 70s, there were another movies. And the term was actually coined way before this movie, but this is probably one of the first time that the concept of the hackers was in the public, right? But the tools that this character was using in the movie was they had some tools that were real, like these war dialers that you put on your phone or brute forcing passwords, right? But they were not exactly what a hacker does, right? This is still a fictitious concept of a hacker. I mean, this is the way of showing to the public, this is what a hacker do, right? But as information started to be more available for everybody, the concept of a hacker started to evolve in the movies too, right? So you got these other movies like Sneakers and Hackers in the beginning of the 90s, right? They were also giving you an image of a hacker with this, and there was very colorful movies, right? With fantastic graphic interfaces where you can surf through data and you have big, beautiful messages if you hack or not the system. But this is not real either, right? This is just the way that they were showing us how a hacker is. And that kept evolving as information was more available for everybody. And we understand what a hacker is. To movies like Who Am I? This is a German movie, very good. And The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I know this is a remake of another movie, but I'm just focusing on the American version. So the concept of a hacker kept evolving along with the information that the public has about a hacker, because people will start to figuring out that, hey, this is not what a hacker does, right? So they kind of know now what a hacker is doing. So the movies also evolved to that. And eventually, and they get to this version of a hacker, which I think is the most real version of a hacker in the media, which is Mr. Robot. This is a TV show from a couple of years ago. It's a fantastic TV show. You haven't seen it, just do it. And they show you this hacker, which is this guy with fantastic skills, right? And using sophisticated attacks like the pineapples, these wireless devices to do man-in-the-middle attacks, or the rubber ducky, this USB pen drive that you connect to your laptop and you inject a payload to the laptop. And they also have this a lot of Python. If you see the TV show, there's a lot of Python in there. And actually the operating system that the guy was using is Kali, which is a penetration testing system. So As you can see, there's an evolution of from the beginnings of the hacker term by the media with this guy who just wanted to have some fun, to this dark figure, right? This is this guy with a hoodie that always has lighting problems in his house and doing things for the wrong reasons, right? Using very sophisticated attacks. And the reason for this, I think, is mostly because information was available, right? And people know what a hacker does. And but the reality is that these two figures, that this bright kid and this guy with a hoodie, they're not actually the real images of a hacker, right? Anyone can be a hacker, right? There's so much information in internet that even if you don't have any experience with computers, you can still download some scripts or tools and start hacking your way in, right? So, and even if you don't have nothing, if you don't know nothing about computers and you have the right amount of money, maybe you can rent a hacker, right? So you don't need to be bright. You don't need to be very skilled with computers. You just need to know where to find a hacker and rent it for you. So this image of the bright kid or the guy with the hoodie are also fake. And for all I care, maybe the guy who's hacking or trying to hack Ruben right now is this guy. It could be anyone, right? So putting a face to a hacker, I think is a mistake, right? It could be any person that's trying to hack you. So this evolution of the hacker, I think it goes hand to hand with the information that's available for everybody on the internet, right? So you don't really need to know about computers, right, to be a hacker. I mean, you just need to know where to find the computers, right, and maybe just hire someone to do it for you, right? And this is one of the problems with cybersecurity right now. There's so much information that anyone can be a hacker, right? Another thing that we can learn from this evolution of the hackers, that money is not always a target. Yes, most of the time they want money, but sometimes they just want the means, right, to make the money, right? So, and this is something that hit us, Ruben, very close, right? We don't have money. We don't. Well, we do, but we're not a bank. We're not a retail. We don't produce money, but we do have lots of computing power, right? That computer power can be very, very interesting for hackers, maybe for to make some Bitcoin mines. Bitcoin mining machines, or maybe just to orchestrate an attack from our installation. So this is important to know. I mean, not necessarily they will attack you for money. They can attack you just for the computer power that you have. And the other thing that, just like the movies, it only gets harder, right? You will not see cybersecurity getting easier over time. And one of the reasons of why cybersecurity it's always gets harder is because it's a negative goal, right? You need to the negative goal is achieving an objective, despite whatever the attacker may do. That's why it's so complicated, right? So I'm going to give you an example of a negative goal and a positive goal. So let's say a positive goal is, we want Bob be able to read the file X, right? So how do we verify that Bob is successful? Well, we just ask Bob, I mean, can you read file X? Yes, okay, great. That's a positive goal. But what about the negative goal? So let's say that we don't want Steve be able to read file X, right? We just can't go and ask Steve, you cannot read it, right? No, because Steve may not be there, or maybe we don't know Steve, right? So we need to make sure that he can read it, reviewing all the ways possible for Steve to read the file, right? So what are those ways? Maybe we need to check that Steve can change the permissions file to the file X. We need to check that Steve won't be able to access the server where the file X is stored because he may be able to hack it. Maybe Bob has a backup of file X, and we need to review that Steve can read the backup of Bob. Or maybe Steve is a little more clever and she tries to intercept the communication between Bob and the server, right? Or perhaps just Steve sent a phishing attack to Bob, so Bob is clicking a link, installs some malware, and he's able to read the file X. And even Steve doesn't know anything about computers, maybe Steve just calls helpdesk trying to impersonate Bob and getting to change the password of Bob, right? So he can read the file. And the possibilities for Steve to read the file X are endless. Maybe Steve goes inside the computer room and steals a hard drive with the file X of Bob, or maybe he waits until Bob leaves his session open and uses his session to read the file. So as you can see, because cybersecurity is a negative goal, it's very difficult because it never ends, and there are always more possibilities of attack, right? So we in IT, we realize this, and we want to take this strategy for defense, right? And we want to base our defense in three concepts: prevention, detection, and resilience, right? So prevention is just making Ruben difficult to attack, right? And for that, we have made a lot of things to the network. We have made network isolation. So maybe you are able to attack one part of the network, but if we isolate the network, you won't be able to attack the other part of the network. We already did that. You don't have to use password assignment right now. You use your SSH key to log in, because we understand that passwords are always a problem. Patching, we need to patch stuff, right? We're preventing from exploits being available for everybody to use, right? And we would like to use the principle of least privilege. This is not implemented yet, but we're working on it. I mean, users should be able to users should be able to access what they need to do their work, not to access everything, right? We need to get more training for users and for staff. And something that we haven't done yet is the audits. We need to start auditing our network, right? Prevention is very critical to have a successful strategy for a cybersecurity, for hacking attacks, right? The other one, which is really important, is detection, right? And the detection is composed of the diagnosis, the detection of the attack, the diagnosis of the attack, and the reasonable response we can have against that attack, right? Or the recovery that we may need to do. And we're relying on several monitoring tools that we are deploying on our network, right? Automation is a big part of this. We expect that if something happens, we're able to respond accordingly and recover from an attack. We're also working in notifications. Right now, we have a notifications group inside the IT group when we send messages when something is going on, and we plan to, at some point, open this notification for more users, right? And something that we haven't done yet, and I think is important at some point to discuss, is it's the disclosure of attacks. I remember that several years ago, when I was working at another organization, the day that we were making a big announcement, we were hacked in one of our web interfaces, right? And it took us about 3 days, right, to recover from that attack. I mean, between detection, recovery, and removal of the attack and so on. And a week later, we found out that another organization was attacked on the same day with the same web interface. So if we have a disclosure policy with other organizations, we will be able to compare the attack that we have with the attack that they had, and maybe we can compare notes, and probably we will find a solution earlier, right? So this is something that we don't do yet, but I think it's a good idea to consider it. So about the monitoring tools, I just want to show you one of the tools that we're using. This is all the attacks that we have received on our firewalls for 24 hours. That's 51 million of attacks, right, of some kind. Most of them are coming from the States, but that's not really representative because most of the hosting is in the States. So they may be anywhere in the world, but they are attacked from there, right? So 50 million attacks, that's about 600 attacks per second, right? And it's not going to get better. It's not going to, in 5 years' time, it's not going to be less than that, right? And this is for the external connections. And this other image is for the internal connections, right? Because we acknowledge that we also need to find out what's going inside, right? And you can see here that there's a big failed tag. We find out that there was an IPv6 connection that was coming from another program. So it's been tagged by our system. But this is all good things that we need to be aware of what's happening with our network, right? This is going to help us to detect if something happens and how to react. And the last one, that concept that we want to use as a strategy, is resilience, right? We will be attacked, but we need to keep the services running, right, despite the attack. And for that, we also rely on automation. So bringing up services quickly is fundamental for this. Scalability, we're also relying on our Kubernetes infrastructure, so quickly scale if there's a problem. We're also moving some services to the cloud, like the login system. We're sending some logs to the cloud, so if our login infrastructure is with a problem, we can still review what's going on, right? And availability, we try to build services with availability in mind, so knowing that this can fail, but I can still have this other one running. But the real concepts here are prevention and detection. So prevention is key for our defense, and detection is essential. The average time that takes for an organization to detect that they have been attacked is 2 years, right? So it's 2 years that you have someone inside your network doing something, right? So we don't want to get to that. We don't want to get to the average, but we're looking for detect as quickly as possible when someone attacks our network, right? As I said at the beginning, this is very difficult, right? It's a lot of work. And there's a saying from Frederick the Great: "He who defends everything defends nothing," right? So, and there's so much that we IT can do, but we can't cover absolutely everything. And for that, we need your help. And I'm talking to the software developers. So the following is a list of the top 10 web application security risks, right? This is from the OWASP. And as you can see from the list, injection, broken authentication, cross-site scripting, and so on. We IT maybe can help you with 4 out of 6, right? All the rest need to be protected on the software side, right? Like the common injections, right? Maybe I can do something about it, but most of the work has to be done on the software. Same with the cross-site scripting, the secure serialization of input variables, and so on, right? So, and before I end my presentation, I just want to open the floor for discussion or comments, and I would like to know, how can we help developers to create software with security in mind? What would you like us that we do to help you build more secure software? That's it. We don't have any comment.
Virtual applause. Frosty has a hand up.
Oh, sorry, Frosty, didn't see you.
No, that's okay. I'll just put it up since everybody's so shy. Maybe I can fix that. Thanks, Christian. That was a really good introduction. I think it's worth saying that in terms of kind of general service security, we are. I know you mentioned, and it's absolutely true, that we can do a lot to make our services more resilient and scale. We shouldn't create like false expectations. Like if we get seriously targeted by a DDoS or whatever, we will go down, right? Like it's like you say, you can't stop all the bad things from happening. I think something that we like to see, both Christian's group and my group, is we like to see very kind of targeted security scenarios where we'll say, okay, we are likely to be attacked in this specific way. And how are we going to recover if we get compromised from such an attack? How we can safeguard the data, how we can safeguard, very high value assets such as, the telescope and so on. There's kind of a bad trend that occasionally a scientific institution will be hacked. I think it happened to Fermilab recently, and there was so much so much kind of like clutching of pearls, about it happening, and it wasn't even kind of a serious incident. And so it's just going to happen. It is inevitable. We're a high-profile mission in a number of ways, and we should just focus on responding well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's an old saying in cybersecurity. I mean, there are two types of organizations, right? The one have been hacked and the ones that they don't know they have been hacked. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It happens to everybody. It happens to Google. It happens to Facebook, to Amazon. It's going to happen to us. I mean, I think the key here is just to make it as difficult as possible. I mean, and not just any kid can launch an attack against us and do something. I mean, we should be prepared. We should be prepared for any kind of attack, right? And we should be able to recover from any kind of attack. But we should also be in a point where it's not simple to attack us, right? There should be some well thought attack, and not just one script kiddie, right? Just launching an attack against us.
Lake has his hand up as well.
Oh, yeah, Lake.
Yeah, so I was, I think that like top 10 list in the previous slide is like really helpful in and of itself to just know what like IT's top 10 concerns are. But I think like the next level beyond that of like, if those are the concerns, like how do I, as a developer for the EPO stuff, like catch some of those common pitfalls like before we're even in production? That kind of guidance would be super duper valuable for us. And then I think a question I had is like, do you, is there like a big difference between the kinds of steps that need to be taken to like the kinds of security steps that need to be taken for stuff that we're working on that's like all public facing and like is less fully tied to the actual facility versus like the software that's like making the telescope move and stuff?
Yeah, thank you, Blake. It's a great question. It's different, right? Public facing interfaces, they have some type of attacks, and applications that we're using inside Ruby, they have other types of attack. The thing is that if we don't protect all the software that we have in the public, on the internal, when someone gets in, it will be much difficult to control them if everything is easy to attack, right? So yes, maybe you don't have SQL injections or cross-site scripting inside the internal network, right? Maybe it's just for the web, maybe not. But if we build all our software front-facing and internal with security in mind, when someone breaks in, we can actually limit until when he can jump inside the network, right? As I said, we can help with some of it, right? We can make network isolation. We can try to corner the attack as much as we can. But there's so much we can do. I mean, at some point, we still need to connect the servers and services inside our network. So the software that we have running internally does not face for the public. They still need to be secure, and it shouldn't be that easy to attack, right?
So Aaron has his hand up, but I would like to just add to what Christian said. One of the things for me, for developers and users, that you will have to help IT out in understanding that you may have to jump from one machine to another or 3 machines to get access to something on the summit, because we can make it incredibly easy. But if it's incredibly easy for us, then it's incredibly easy for anybody who breaks through the first layer. So I think we're all going to have to accept a little bit of things being locked down a bit more on the summit as we get closer to operations, or already in some cases. So Aaron had his hand up, and then Russell after him, and then Russ after that. Great, they're all queuing up. Go ahead, Aaron.
Sure. I was wondering if having our code open sources leads to more exposure to like say a vulnerable code because I don't know how to code securely, and that could lead to more exploitation? Or is that actually a positive thing that others could come patch things up? I don't know if you had any concerns with that. And especially as science pipeline developer, I'm wondering if it would also be possible for an attack where they go and corrupt the data instead of just stealing computing resources or DDoS. So I guess, yeah, I think that's two questions.
Will, you want to check that one?
Sure. I think the open software cuts both ways. Open software means people can see what you've done, so they could attack you using that. It also means people are looking at it. So if you think there's equal amounts of good and bad in the world, somebody's going to tell you, hey, this is bad, you ought to fix it, at the same rate that someone's going to try and exploit it. So you come out, I would say, ahead. You come out with a better system, because if you keep it all internal, the exploiters will still exploit you, but you won't get the eyes of anybody good looking at it. If you think the world is evil, of course, you're in trouble. We're in the wrong project. We're working on science. And there was a second part to your question, I think.
About the possibility of corrupting
yes,
the data.
I'm slightly worried about, somebody basically, it would be very hard, but I think, you could think of somebody trying to inject something into our code base that allows them a backdoor or some access to some CPU cycles. I think with our code reviewing and the fact that everybody has to be a member of DM to do a pull request, etc., we're probably not too bad, but it means we need to stick to those coding standards that we have, which again, a lot of people dislike because they go, it's a lot of effort. Somebody has to review my code. I don't like somebody looking at my code, but these things all help, right? All right, and I think Russell was, Russell next.
Russell.
Need to unmute.
I think you're muted, Russell.
The spacebar didn't work for some reason, so I unmuted directly. It's a two-part question. The thing that really keeps us up in Telescope and Sight at night is wondering whether the DDS system is, how hackable that is. When somebody gets in, there's not a lot we can do to stop them from commanding any of our systems. And the other thing that worries me is remote access to the engineering user interfaces. We're considering using TeamViewer because we haven't found anything else that actually functions properly. But it seems scary not to be relying on the VPN. So I was wondering if you had any concrete thoughts on either of those two scary topics.
Yeah, the DDS is tricky. I don't know how can we, I mean, the problem with DDS is that if we're trying to secure DDS, we may break it, right? I think probably one of the best options that we can do with DDS, and it's something that we have been doing in the background already, is just isolating the network, right? So at least if somebody breaks in, it will be difficult to enter to DDS because it will be in an isolated network, right? And about TeamViewer, I agree with you. I don't like access from outside without VPN. But if we don't use TeamViewer, we need to find a reasonable solution for everybody, right? We've been trying X2Go. X2Go, you will need a VPN, but it doesn't seem to satisfy some of the requirements. I know that some of the TeamViewer use cases are only for construction. So, but yeah, I agree with you. You definitely need a VPN. You should need a VPN to access the internal network, and TeamViewer shouldn't be allowed. Yeah, thank you, Ross.
Yeah, there was a couple of things that came up that I have some prior experience with, so I thought I could add a little bit more color. So one is the development for the public facing services. On that front, because there was questions about specifically what developers should do there. Public facing services are the ones that are going to get the most automated attacks and the most just like people curiously poking at things. Because obviously they're publicly accessible. Everybody on the internet can poke at them like all the time. So for those, and that's where all the web vulnerabilities and whatnot come in. So for those, I think the standard reply there is you should be using secure frameworks. Like, don't try to write secure code when you can avoid it, and you can instead use a framework that makes it impossible to write insecure code. That's so much better. Like, a lot of the modern database layers, for example, will handle SQL injection for you. They'll make it very difficult for SQL injection to happen because they separate the streams of user supplied data from your code. And then also the other huge advantage of the public facing stuff is that we can potentially use cloud services where each component of the public facing stuff is isolated from everything else. So if something breaks into one piece, you just replace it, and the spreading between things is a little bit harder to do. Then the other thing that I have a little bit of history with is open source security. And so I wanted to mention that about the worries. There's a worry that if you open source stuff, then hackers will go look at it and find the flaws in it. I'll tell you, that's just not an easy way to find flaws. For the most part, the folks who are trying to break into things use a bunch of tools that poke at that stuff directly in an automated fashion. They just let computers bang away at things and look for crashes and other explained behavior, and then they have tools that let them follow up on that stuff. That's actually a lot less time consuming for them than reading source code, because they could just let a computer bang at things for a while. The people who go and read your source code are by and large people who are trying to help you. They're people who are much more likely to tell you, hey, you messed up the way you were calling this function. The attackers are just going to point automated scanning software and automated attack software at your site and see if they can find something interesting and then chase it.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you, Russ.
Josh was up there. Yeah, thanks, Russ. That's really cool. Josh was up next.
Yeah, Russ actually covered most of what I was going to say, in that I'm not worried about people looking at the code because more often than not, it's automated. The people who are going to be looking at the code are going to be something like an APT or a state level actor, and we're screwed anyways in that event. But actually, I wanted to talk about what Russell was concerned about with the DDS. And I think what he's envisioning there is somebody getting onto the network and either issuing legitimate commands through the framework for DDS or injecting packets onto the network that mimic DDS. And what I'd say is, in any event, regardless if we're worried about malicious activity, we should not be able to issue commands via DDS that damage the facility, right? Things that cause data loss, things that damage equipment, whatever. It has to be engineered in such a way that those are, if not theoretically impossible, very, very difficult to achieve. So in the event there is a malicious event on the network, the worst impact is lost productivity as opposed to physical damage to the facility.
Yeah, I think nearly all the hardware has some sort of safe mode or safety stops, which the software prevents it going to some place where it can be damaged. So I think, I'm worried, as Russell is, but I'm trusting the engineering to a certain extent to save us on that.
Yeah, I mean, the firmware, whatever the lowest level should have hardware stops in it, but also any of the CSCs should be doing validation of their input, and they should have some sanity checking in them so they don't do horrible things. I mean, writing secure software is obviously virtually impossible, or we wouldn't live in the world that we live in. I wonder if we could make some ground on this by either having some sort of training or having an outside consultant come in to look through what we've done and find, do somewhat of a code audit, but really to try and find examples of things that are problematic that we can use as a learning exercise to try and harden our code base.
We're certainly looking into it, thinking about it. And Frosty was next, I think, Christian. So.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Two things. Number one, just remember that the biggest danger to our systems is us. And so this is why it's so useful in security to focus on recovery and response, because yes, somebody could actually theoretically hack into the network system and get on the DDS and break a mirror, which by the way, they can't do because there are hardware limits, as everybody pointed out, so don't panic. But the chances of an engineer fat fingering a command and deleting something, or putting an encoder past its limit stops is 100 times more likely, right? And so, security is kind of exciting because of the kind of Hollywood aspect to it, and the whole kind of tower defense thing where the bad guys are trying to get in and we're going to try to keep them out. But the principles that actually secure the system are the same principles that allow us to work on the system safely on a day-by-day basis. So I know it sounds a little more boring, but that's kind of useful. The other thing I was going to say is I know there's a couple of people super excited about the trivia game, so just want to make sure that we get to it before the time runs out.
Yeah, we will. So no, just want to say about writing secure software. You're right. It's impossible to write 100% secure software. If we do, it will be magic, right? But there are still some things that we can do, right? I mean, just good practices like not hard coding passwords or things like that, right? I mean, things that should not be happening on the code that will make someone easier to attack us. Right? All right, we have more questions.
I'm not seeing any more hand. Oh,
Katie.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I mean, along those lines, I mean, the science pipelines developers in particular, I mean, the code is mostly dealing with numbers. It's not really necessarily interfacing with users as a service in the way that some of these other software packages are doing. But there are still things that you need to be worried about in terms of cybersecurity. And in particular, all staff members have credentials, and those credentials give you access to computing resources. And as Christian said earlier, those computing resources are valuable. So try to protect your credentials. Don't just leave things sitting around. Don't hand out unlimited life tokens unnecessarily, and don't check them into GitHub, please. Things like that. So there are still things that you need to watch out for.
Yeah. Thank you, Katie.
There's some discussion, Stuxnet going on in the chat on the side, but yeah. Rob Bovel's just saying if some government decides to attack us, we're sunk. Which is true, a lot of resources, but we'll worry about that. We'll disconnect, right? We're going to test the summit works when it's not connected to the network. We'll just plug it.
All right. So if there are no further questions, all right. So if you want to participate in the trivia, this is the time. If you're not interested, thank you for coming. And please log into that, open that link with your browser. And please sign up with a nickname. You can choose whatever nickname you want. Just make sure that it's not embarrassing if you need to claim your prize. And as soon as I see people logging in, I will start with the trivia. All right.
Sorry, since we said there were only 10 seats, I'm trying to leave a seat for somebody.
No, it's more.
It's more? Okay, so I think you
Yes.
said it was a limited set. Okay.
No, it's limited like 100 people, but it's fine.
Oh, okay, we'll say.
Yeah, all right.
So we're good.
Let's bring all the PCW to this. It's fine.
Meanwhile, Christian is reading everything on your hard drive.
Yes. All right, so if you logged in already, you should be seeing a game will begin shortly. All right, so some instructions for the participants of the fantastic cybersecurity trivia. It's 10 questions. You have 50, it's multiple choice questions. You have 15 seconds to answer, right? And you will get points for the right answer and for the time that it takes you to answer, right? If we have a tie, we have an extra set of questions for if that's the case, but that's probably not likely. All right, so any more? Let me see how many people we have. All right, we have 30 people participating. All right, I suppose everybody looks there now. All right.
38 people on this call. So is everybody on the call joining or somebody not joining?
No, maybe some people left.
Well, there were 40 something, now we have 38. So I'm kind of assuming the 38 might join in. Okay, but yeah, go for it, Christian. If it's saying at 30, we must be good.
Yeah, it should be good. All right, here goes. Let me move this a little bit so I can see what's going on. Cybersecurity trivia. All right. Game will start in 20 seconds.
Is it 15 seconds per question or total?
No, this is, no, 50 seconds per question. All right, so here it goes. Question number 1. Which one of these protocols use tickets to identify users to the network? 5 seconds. This is easy. And we're done. Okay, let's see how you guys did. All right. All right, so most of the people said it's Kerberos, which is correct. Kerberos is the answer. Very well. All right, let's go to the next question. Next question is, what's the meaning of LSST? I'm sure Frozy knows this one. Come on, Frosty.
Frosty just clicked the wrong answer.
So did I. It was a trick
Even
from
though
him.
she named the frigging
He
survey.
fished us.
I'm just gonna rage quit now. It's gone. It's gone.
Right.
I am so
Yes,
embarrassed.
that was a trick question. Large survey. Yes.
Learn to read the question.
Right, it's time.
Yes. Linux shell script test. Very good. All right. Right. The right answer is legacy survey of space and time. For those who don't know this, Frozy is the one who coined the term. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention about Kerberos, but we do have Kerberos systems at the Summit. You can log in with your Summit account, start the Kerberos system, and you can log into anywhere without password. All right, so let's see the leaderboard. See who's leading. KT, well done. KT in first place, and then we got Russ. All right, cool. Second question.
It's early yet.
Yeah, we'll see. How long will it take to crack a password of 8 characters with numbers, symbols, and uppercase and all sort of stuff?
It depends. That's unfair.
Yeah, so very well. All right, time's gone.
You're that person on the pub quiz team, KT, huh? Objection, I wish to review the question.
All right, so, oh, click, yes. In live questions? Oh no, it's my computer, sorry. All right, there you go. Interesting. One person say 8 hours. This is actually 8 hours. Interesting. Yeah, actually, if you increase to, let's say 9 characters, this is still 3 weeks, right? I mean, you need to get to like 12 characters to get 300 years or something like that. And the problem with this question is that it keeps changing over time, right? I mean, as computer gets faster, you can crack more easily. All right, how's the leaderboard? KT again, well done. He who's always right, I like that one. All right, let's go for the next question. The average number of alerts per night we will produce. That's a Rubin question. 5 seconds.
I'm trying to answer it too quickly.
Yeah. And time's up. See how you guys did. 10 million. Yeah, well done. It's 10 million.
Too low.
Yeah. If you want to check it, there's a web page, the key numbers of Rubin, and you can check all the numbers that we have. Don Mac is leading now. CHB and Julio, well done. All right, next question. Which of the following methods prevent man-in-the-middle attacks? They're all good security practices, but one of them is especially made for preventing man-in-the-middle attacks. All right. See the answers? VPN, yes, it is VPN. Yeah, man-in-the-middle attacks is just impersonating, right, the other user. So you need to have a secure communication to prevent. All right, next question. Which of the following is not a tool to sniff packages? There's one there that is not used for sniffing.
I hope that's a typo. You package.
Which one?
It says packages.
Sorry, it's a typo. Yes, it's packets. Sorry, good call. Yes, and the answer is packages. No, you can't sniff packages. It's MRTG. Yes, that's a graphing tool. Yeah. And Don Mac is winning. All right. Let's go to the next one. Okay, Frozy, this is for you. What's the meaning of Frozy's team square?
I got this wrong. I will have to resign.
You need to get it right. It's for you, Frozy.
I'm going to read all the questions very carefully.
3 seconds, Frozy. All right.
This is my third language.
I thought you were changing it too, but
Oh,
the
yeah.
new version isn't on there, so that's.
This is knowing too much is a disadvantage, Kitty.
All right. C, yes. I quite like the B answer. Super qualified Ruby engineers. I like that one. Maybe you consider to change it.
Well, yeah, I will apply to Bob, yes.
Yes. All right. That's a correct answer. Well done.
I have to say science careers and random experiments is also pretty cool. This is a good list. You should send it to me later.
All right, will do. All right, so Don Mac is leading. Who's Don Mac, by the way? Oh, never mind. We'll leave it for the end. All right, next. Which of the following works by implanting software on systems, but delay execution until a specific data conditions are met? It's also a tricky question, but there's one right answer. All right, let's see. Trojan, yeah, it could be a Trojan, but actually the right answer, it's a logic bomb, right? The logic bomb triggers when there's a specific set of conditions. All right, let's see how is this leaderboard. Ross, well done, mate. KT and the Mac, all right. Which of the following method does not prevent SQL injections? They're all good methods to prevent SQL injection, except one. All right, let's see. Yes, password complexity does not prevent SQL injections. Oh, last question. This is it. This is it. I think it's between Russ, KT, and Don Mac. This is it, the last question. And the last question is related to Rubin, right? And it's I think the quicker is gonna win this. All right. What's the meaning of IDF?
That's a nasty question.
Speed clicking.
All right.
However, given the fact that it was a tiebreaker between Kitty and Russ, I think it was probably quite a good question.
All right, yes, interim data facility. That's the right answer. Well done. And let's see the results for the winner. The winner is Ross by 7 points. Congratulations, Ross.
Yeah. What was it?
Congratulations.
Ruby and Awesome Engineers or something. You need to send me that list, Christian. That was awesome.
All right. Okay.
I think it's quite appropriate that our security guy won the cybersecurity trivia.
Yeah, I was gonna dock him a whole grade in his performance evaluation next year if he hadn't won. I'm kidding.
Well, that's pretty good.
What did you use for this quiz, Christian? This was sweet.
Oh, the app. It's called CrowdPer. If you want to do a trivia tomorrow, we can do it. We have licenses for a month, so it's fine. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Russ, on winning the super fantastic cybersecurity trivia. And we will contact you and you decide if you want the lockpicking set or the charity donation. It's up to you, mate. So thank you very much, guys. And
thanks for organizing this, Christian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.